British soldier killed on duty in Ukraine, and in the past few minutes he has been named by the Ministry of Defence as 28-year-old Lance Corporal George Hooley of the Parachute Regiment. Let's bring in Deborah Haynes, who joins me now, our defence correspondent. Deborah, what do we know about what happened here?
Yeah, so there was a statement yesterday from the Ministry of Defence revealing that the first serving member of the British Armed Forces had been killed in Ukraine since Russia launched its full-scale war. And the details about how it happened, they called it a tragic accident. It's understood there was no hostile activity involved. The soldier was observing, we've been told by the Ministry of Defence, the Ukrainian military testing a new weapon system away from the front line. We don't know when that actually happened. All we know is that he was injured and he died on Tuesday. So whether or not the testing happened on the same day, that's not clear. But it really shines a rare light, frankly, on the fact that there is a small number of British military personnel in Ukraine. We know that they do work providing security to the British embassy and also to British diplomats deployed to the country, and as well do offer some support to the Ukrainian armed forces. They're not engaged in any fighting, and there's always sensitivity around talking about them because there are concerns that Russia might try to exploit that and falsely claim that they are on the front lines fighting Russian forces. Though, of course, we do know that former British troops, many of them have gone to Ukraine to join with the Ukrainian armed forces, and a number of them have been killed too. But the significance is, of course, a huge tragedy, but the first time this has happened for a serving member of the armed forces.
And is it clear how many members of the UK armed forces are in Ukraine helping the Ukrainian troops, or is that shrouded in a bit of secrecy?
Yeah, there's no clarity. It's been acknowledged as a small number. Of course, it wouldn't be a surprise that there are we need security at the embassy, for example, and when the ambassador moves around. But there's no sort of large-scale deployment in any sense of the word. But I think it's obviously a further indication of how the UK is supporting Ukraine. There's a lot of Ukrainian troops who come to the UK to get training. But the fact that you have, obviously a small group in that country clearly taking great risk. And, the Prime Minister came out yesterday. He's obviously mentioned the name of the soldier today, but came out expressing his deep sympathies of what happened. But also it's worth mentioning that there are many, many thousands of Ukrainian troops who have been killed and wounded in this war.
From what you'll see on the TV, when you're in a bunker freezing cold, you're unarmed. So if the Russians came and assaulted that position, what would you do? This is reality. This is not what you see in the movies. This is not what you'll have experienced in Iraq or Afghanistan. This is a completely different role, a different environment. I initially had no intentions of being involved in the military side of it. Mine was purely humanitarian. It was an impulse that I was going to go and fill my van with humanitarian aid and literally leg it out there. But unfortunately, some of the younger guys that I met there had no idea. They were non-combatants, had no military experience, literally never put a pair of military boots on before. And of course, I quietly observed this and I found it quite emotional, that these boys didn't realize what they were doing and there was no one to advise them. When they got boots on the ground, they wouldn't have known one end of a rifle to another, which I found very, very perturbing, very, very, very deeply challenging emotionally. One example was a young guy not too far away from here, 18 years old, from a council estate. And I looked at him and thought, what are you doing here, son? What are you doing here? Commendable. It's great. You want to fight for the free world and liberate the people of Ukraine. But my experience would be you're more of a hindrance than a help. I got sucked in because of my compassion for these untrained guys to try and give a little bit of guidance. Just one snippet they might take away with them that might save their lives.